Can the Turtles fight off Shredder if Leonardo is on his side? Welcome to the Complete Story Series, where I take trade paperbacks and single issues and I break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. Then I read it dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. At the end of our last story, Shredder had successfully brainwashed Leonardo into thinking that his former sensei and father, Splinter, was actually an evil master. As time passed, the Foot Clan's operation continued. One night, Karai oversees a shipment getting ready to go out when she's suddenly attacked by Savant. Karai begins to fight back, telling everyone that they will not let them pass, but a Foot Clan soldier tells her that they are soon to be outnumbered. Slowly, Karai and the last soldiers begin to back up as the leader of the Savant group starts to surround her, telling her that her men were right. Their number is greater, little girl. Little girl? Karai asks, and tells him that he will soon regret those words. The leader smiles at her. Oh, will I? Then he hears a voice above him telling, yes, he will. Above him stands Leo and a group of Foot Clan soldiers, and Leo tells them to destroy. The Foot Clan starts to overwhelm the Savant, and they begin to kill them off, and that's when Karai raises her sword to kill the leader. But Leo stops her, telling her that they need him alive to deliver a message. Leo leans in and tells him, pay very close attention. The Foot will no longer tolerate disobedience, not from you or anyone else. So go tell your leaders that if they disobey Master Shredder, they will face an all-out war. Elsewhere in the city, Raph questions some criminals that did some work, telling them not to play stupid with him. The criminal tries to state that he doesn't know what's going on, and then the criminal's partner jumps in to try and attack Raph, and Raph just turns to kick him down. The first criminal stands up, breaking a board over Raph's back, and he turns back, grabbing that man by the throat, asking him, didn't I just warn you about being stupid? Raph says he remembers seeing him and his buddy making deals with a Foot and a Savant, so it's time for them to talk. The man tells him that they are just small fish. They don't know anything worth knowing. But he can tell him about the guys who are heavy-duty players, much bigger fish for Raph to go after. They might have some information that he's looking for. Whatever's been going on in this city is huge, and it goes all the way to the top. Back in the alley where the Foot Clan are getting ready for their shipment, Victor, the leader of the Savant, finished clearing out the last Foot Clan member when Marcelio, a member of one of the families, pulls up. Marcelio tells him that the families are calling a meeting right now and he needs to come with them. Later, in the office, members of the families gather around a table where Antonio, head of the families, tells Victor he said that once he took over the Savant, he would be making some big changes, but they didn't think that the Savant would be in a worse off standing. With his aggressive methods, he has now crossed the line with the Foot Clan, starting an all-out war. Marcelio steps in, telling him, yeah, your old boss would have found a way to handle Shredder like a businessman. Victor tells him, well, yes, but I'm not Fabrice. And then he throws a knife into Marcelio's neck, telling everyone that it's not business as usual anymore. The time for them to decide if they are the predators or the prey is now. Over at Shredder's headquarters, Leo and Karai report that they have successfully engaged the Savant, and they've delivered their ultimatum. Karai begins to voice her displeasure about being used as bait. She would be better served with a higher purpose, in her opinion. But Shredder stops her, asking, why not speak to him about that, when it is Leo who utilized her in that manner? She looks at Leo and he tells her, it made tactical sense. Karai begins to shout about how she will not be treated as a common foot soldier, and Shredder tells her that she will be whatever he decides is best for the Foot Clan. Karai begins to storm off, and Leo asks if he may go. Then as he turns back from looking at Karai leaving, he sees something when he looks at Shredder and Katsuni. Shredder tells him that he may go, and as he leaves, a foot soldier appears, stating that there has been an urgent delivery from Victor of the Savant. Shredder opens up the box and both he and Katsuni look down. He says that it seems their foe has made their decision, and inside of the box is a severed foot soldier hand with a note attached to it, stating war. On the other side of the city, Splinter visits Hob in his home, explaining the situation with Leo. He will stop it, but his family does not possess the resources necessary to confront the Foot Clan. Splinter continues to look at all of the guns in the racks, and he says that maybe Hobbs can provide some help. Hobbs laughs, stating that he knew he had the smarts enough to figure out a mutant army was a good idea. But if you want my help, Splinter, there's going to be something that you have to do for me first, because now you're messing with the big guns. Back with Raph follows up on the leads the criminals gave him to two crooked cops. But as he holds his side of one's neck, telling the man that he'll tell him where the Foot Clan is hiding, he's quickly pulled away. The cop looks back to see what happened, and he sees a figure in the shadow telling him that they should totally run, dudes. In the alley where Raph was pulled off to, Johnny tells Raph that he's getting out of control, and Raph begins to shout that he will show him out of control. And then Mikey steps in, pushing him back, telling him to knock it off. He's sick of everyone fighting like a bunch of babies, and Raph is being the biggest one. He and Donnie spent the whole day cleaning up his messes all over town, and Raph just tears through things. Raph turns around sulking, telling everyone he knows. It's just this whole thing is his fault. If he didn't let Casey get taken by Shredder in the beginning, none of this would have happened. Donnie tells Raph that sometimes bad things just happen. That's life. And right now it's time for them to be the team that Leo made them into, as the only way that they're going to save Leo. Raph realizes that Donnie's right, and the three of them begin to head back home. Elsewhere, Shredder begins to look down onto the Savant headquarters, preparing to attack. Shredder says that he and Leo will lead the attack, while Karai and Alopex will follow up with a secondary strike. As Shredder and Leo walk off, Alopex tells Karai that this is all wrong. She should be the one leading the attack with Shredder, not Leo. Karai says that it's never wise to overestimate one's importance. They serve the Foot Clan, but a wise warrior always has an alternative plan ready. The next day, the remaining brothers all go out searching for information and help. Raph recruits Angel to join them while Mikey visits Woody for some information. Woody delivers pizzas and tells Mikey that he might not be much help, but there is one place that he delivered pizza to, and he overheard some Foot Clan guys mentioning something about a war brewing, but he didn't stick around to figure out what was going on. Donnie and April go to see Donnie's friend Harold, an inventor of sorts. Once Harold lets them in, Donnie explains that his family has run into some trouble with some really bad guys, and they're here to try and see if maybe they could possibly get a tech advantage. He knew that Harold was upgrading his anti-grav gauntlets and other things, and he just thought, but Harold finishes his sentence telling him he thought that he would help them out, right? Even though their personal problems have less than zero to do with him. How obtruse. April begins to think about how she thinks it's but Donnie stops her and tells her to just let it go. Harold says that he's been working on some upgrades to some things, but he hasn't tested them out yet. So if he did let them borrow them, he wouldn't be responsible if somebody got blown up by them. It would be their own damn fault, not his, you hear me? Donnie tells him loud and clear. Later, the Foot Clan begin to fly towards the Savant headquarters, and once they get close enough, Leo and Shredder jump in, crashing through the windows. Once they engage, Leo calls Karai, telling her that they have infiltrated the base and to wait for him to order the next attack. Karai says that she understands, but once the radio goes silent, she orders her group to move in. During this time, Splinter and Hobbs sneak up to the StockGen building, and Hobbs explains that this is what he needed him to do. Hobbs wants a mutant army, so he's going to need mutagen. So who better to take it than the little lab rat who used to have the run of the place, right? Splinter grabs Hobbs and tells him that he is only doing this to rescue Leo, and Hobbs better not forget that fact. Splinter makes his way to the labs, and Hobbs asks Slash if he's ready, and Slash tells him, yes. Back at the Savant headquarters, Leo chases Victor into a corner, and Victor says that only death will decide this war. Leo reaches into his belt and he throws smoke bombs out, telling him to count on it. Victor pulls out some guns, but Leo uses the smoke to run around and disarm Victor as the smoke clears. Then, Victor's holding a knife as Leo readies his claws. The two of them begin to fight and struggle, deflecting each other's attacks until Leo counters and punches Victor in the face, knocking him down. Leo then gets on top of him, holding his claws up, but before he can finish Victor, Shredder tells him to stay his hand. We have won. Leo asks him why let Victor live, and Shredder tells him that the battle is won, but not the war. Victor notices that one of the guns is next to him, and he fires it at Leo. Shredder rushes in, cutting off Victor's hand, and he tells the soldiers to bandage Victor up. They can't have him dying here. Back at StockGen, Splinter begins to leave the facility with the mutagen when a guard stomps him. Splinter turns back, throws the mutagen up, quickly disarms the man, knocking him out with his own gun before safely catching the container. He then looks at the man and he tells him to forgive him. Once outside, Splinter hands over the mutagen and he tells Hobbs that he has done what has been promised, so you had better deliver on my request when I call upon you. As Splinter leaves, Hobbs asks if it's finished and Slash tells him it is. He then flicks his cigar, telling Slash that they are done, and he presses a button. Back at the building, the alarms on the bombs that Slash set up begin to go off, and as Hobbs begins to drive off, Slash watches as the building explodes. On another part of the city, Mikey rides with Woody, delivering pizza to some of the places that Woody heard the Foot Clan talk about. Mikey heads up, knocks on a door, and the man that answers the door asks what he wants. They didn't order any pizza. And what exactly are you supposed to be anyway? Mikey looks at himself and he says, oh, this is just a costume. You know, for Mikey's Turtle Pizza, where you get a shell of a deal. The man tells him that it doesn't matter. Pizza is pizza. They don't have time to stop for food before the Bigfoot meeting tonight. He then pulls out a gun, pointing it at Mikey, telling him that it seems the pizza will be on the house. And Mikey tells him, how about the face? And he slams it into the man's face before he can hit Mikey. He then throws the man onto the table with the other guys, and he states, so you're all going to a big meeting, huh? How is it that I can get one of those invites? Over at the church, Donnie tries to show Raph how to use the anti-grav gun, but he's having a hard time even turning it on. Donnie tells Raph it's really simple, how can he be messing this up? Even April figured it out. But before long, Mikey steps in telling everyone that he knows where Leo's going to be. He totally knows! He was out helping Woody fake pizza deliveries when they found out about some big giant Foot Clan meeting coming up tonight. So after some convincing, he got the Foot Clan to tell him where and when. And all of the important people will be there, like Shredder, Karai, Applex. And before Mikey can finish his sentence, Splinter steps in telling them, Leonardo, his sons are to be commended for banding together and having their hard work paying off. So now, it is time to call on their allies to bring Leonardo home. Elsewhere, Leo is sleeping and dreaming, and in his dream he sees Shredder with him and his brothers all tied up. Men stand behind his brothers and Shredder tells him to watch as his brothers are executed by the clan that he chose to dishonor with his treachery. Leo tells him that he didn't betray them. This isn't right! Something's changed! Shredder tells the men now, and Leo watches as his brothers are slain. He could do nothing about it. But as he cries, he hears a voice. He looks up to see the woman that he calls Mother, and she tells him to hear her and see her. This is no place for him. Shredder turns his blade to Leo, telling him that it's time, and with one fluid motion, Shredder swings. Leo then wakes up screaming. Karai appears, telling him that she heard his cry. Maybe his new duties haunt him? She came to check on him to see if he was in any danger, and Leo tells her he bets, and he begins to get ready, asking if everything is ready for the meetup. She tells him, of course. Over in the hospital, Casey gets a message from April telling him that she'll be by soon. She's helping the turtles out with something, but before he can answer her, Angel calls him out. She tells Casey that she found his mask. As Casey looks at it, he tells Angel that his dad came by and tried to give him a new mask, but something was different. He was all dressed up, stating that he was clean now. Bunch of bull like that. Angel tells him, yeah, actually, that's not... He stopped drinking, and he started calling himself Hun again. In fact, he actually came back over to take the dragons from her, and he was going to go to the Foot Clan meeting. Casey jumps out of bed and starts to get dressed, stating that he got a message from April about Leo, and that something about this meeting doesn't sit right. He's got a bad feeling, especially if his dad is involved. Outside an abandoned theater, the turtles and the rest of them begin to suit up to begin their assault, but inside, Shredder welcomes everyone, introducing himself as the leader of the Foot Clan and now the master of them all. Shredder has been calling all of the criminal groups here tonight to tell them that they will now be serving under his rule. And to show what happens to those who oppose him, he shows Victor, head of the Savate, sitting next to him. Shredder raises his sword, and while Leo watches, he starts to see the image of his mother telling him to wait and see how this place is not a place for him. Outside of the theater, the crew gets ready and Splinter says that there's now no more time for waiting. And Hobbs fires a rocket into a nearby car. Hobbs then throws in a smoke grenade and everyone begins to charge in. Donnie lifts a car and throws it into the side of the theater, and the turtles start to make their way in. Inside, Donnie begins to fight with Shredder, and he uses the anti-grav glove to toss Shredder away. Leo then appears and begins to attack. Donnie throws him away, but as Leo begins to get back up, Raph tackles him back to the ground. Leo pushes Raph away, shouting, "This is wrong! This is all wrong!" Splinter calls out to everyone to retreat and take Leo with them, but soon Karai appears, firing an arrow into Donnie's gauntlet, destroying it, and she tells him that tonight will belong to the Foot Clan. And then behind them, Bebop and Rocksteady say, "Yeah, what she said." Bebop and Rocksteady begin taking down the turtles, and Shredder asks Karai, who are they? She tells them that those hybrids are her making. They will serve the Foot Clan loyally and willingly as they look at Leo beginning to break from Kitsune's spell. Bebop and Rocksteady continue beating down on the turtles, joking with them about how easy this is. But Karai tells them to stop playing around and finish them off already. April then appears in the cloaking device that Harold made, and Donnie asks what she's doing there. She tells him, beta testing some of Harold's new gear. Works great, huh? Shredder then begins to pick up Leo, telling him to look around. He needs to fight and strike without mercy. Leo, however, asks, where is she? Where is Mother? Shredder smacks him down, telling him to rise and become the warrior that you were meant to be. Behind Shredder, though, Splinter tells him that he does not ever touch his son. Splinter jumps in front of Leo, and then he and Shredder begin to fight it out. Leo gets up, calling out to Shredder, but Raph trips him, telling him that he'll have to go through him first. Leo gets back up, stating that he will die now, and he lunges at Raph. Raph tells him, come on. He knows that this isn't him. He knows that he secretly named his swords Musashi and Kamazumi. He knows he doesn't like playing video games with Mikey because he always loses. He knows that this isn't him because he wouldn't easily knock his sword out of his hand. Raph then drops his sigh, telling him that he knows that he can't fight him anymore. He knows that he's feeling lost and alone, but we're your family, bro. Leo looks up and he sees the image of Mother, telling him that this is no place for him. The struggle between Splinter and Shredder soon ends as Shredder kicks down on Splinter's leg and punches it again. Shredder then holds him up by his head, telling him, we were once clan brothers. I was was the leader until you betrayed me. The Foot Clan was your family before Tang Shen and his abominations that he calls children. As Shredder holds his claws to Splinter's neck, Alopex jumps on him, shouting at him, "How dare you speak that name?" Shredder knows nothing about family, only how to kill and destroy. Alopex then continues to claw at Shredder until she is hit in the chest by an arrow from Karai. Leo looks at Raph, telling him that he thought they all died, and soon the rest of the brothers gather around and Mikey says, "Hi there, big brother." April calls out, stating that she doesn't have much juice left in the gauntlets and they need to go now and get out of here. Mikey then begins to help Splinter up when Slash comes bursting through the wall, creating a way for them to escape. Outside, everyone begins to pile into Hobbs' truck, and Splinter tells him to remove them from this place. Hobbs tells him to hang on, he's got one more thing to do, so he pops the pin off of a grenade and tosses it out the window, stating, "There we go." Later, after getting away, everyone regroups to make sure that no injuries were that bad. And as Splinter reaches out to Leo to tell him that he's happy he's here, Leo pushes him off, telling him not to touch him. As everyone gets into the van, Leo walks off and takes off the black bandana, and he walks over to Slash. He hands back that and the claw to Slash, and soon the group leaves to go into hiding from Shredder. And that brings us to the conclusion of City Fall, but there is a lot more Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle storylines to go through, and a lot more epicness that happens in this series. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Don't forget to check out the playlist, and follow me on Twitter at Comicstorian, and Instagram at Comicstorian. I'll see you next time right here.